Hello and welcome guys, and welcome to this session of cost and management audit. And yes, in this session we are going to start a chapter of your syllabus, cost audit program, and this chapter has been recently introduced in syllabus 2016 and it has been carried forward. So it is not a chapter which is existing since ever in your syllabus. This has been recently introduced, and guys, this chapter is all about planning. But sir, you told us that this chapter is cost audit program. There is no word planning in this particular chapter's name. Then how can you say that this chapter is focused on planning? How are you saying that it is planning? So guys, before starting this particular chapter, let me introduce you to this word which is known as program. Cost audit program. So sir, what is the relationship between cost audit program and planning? What is the relationship? The relationship is very clear, guys. Word program over here means planning. The word program over here means planning. Sir, you are saying that word program is synonymous to planning. Yes, guys, the word program is synonymous to the word planning. So if I say cost audit planning, or if I say cost audit program, both means one and the same thing. So cost audit planning, cost audit program, both are one and the same thing. So by now you have clearly understood the meaning of word cost and meaning of word audit. We have we have discussed these two words in our syllabus, guys. Two words are cost and audit. What do you mean by cost? What do you mean by audit? We have discussed this in ample number of chapters, and many different situations have been dealt with us in the entire syllabus. So I'm very sure that you are very comfortable with these two words, cost and audit. But now we are going to start cost audit program. So my entire focus in this particular chapter will not be on cost, will not be on audit, but will be on program. What do you mean by program? What do you mean by program? So program might have different connotations. Program might mean the television series which you watch on a daily basis. That program is also program. Program might mean the programming, the languages, the software related terminology which is used by software engineers in programming, in making languages related to computer softwares, etc. That might also be a program. But for me, in this entire chapter, program would mean planning. Program would mean how would I plan my cost audit. I need to plan my cost audit. So first of all, why do you need to plan your cost audit? What is the purpose of planning cost audit? Guys, for undertaking any and every project in your life, you need to plan. So just remember the last time you went for a vacation or a holiday to a different city than where you are staying right now. Did you plan something, or did you get a random thought that yes, I want to go for a holiday, so I'm going for a holiday? Did you plan it? Of course, yes, you plan it. You planned when to leave your city. You planned when would you arrive at the other city. You planned what hotels will you be staying at. You planned where would you be having your meals. You planned where all will you go, what all will you do. You made a checklist of 10 best places to roam about in this particular place. You did a tick on those 10 checklists because you didn't want to miss out on any good scenic beauty, any good place to visit in that particular city. Didn't you do all that stuff? Yes, you did that. So, planning is required in any and every aspect of our life, be it personal life or professional life. If we do not do planning efficiently, then we are bound to miss out on certain critical aspects. We are bound to miss out on certain vital elements of your activity which you are doing. And to avoid missing out on important stuff, to avoid hiccups during the project, you need to plan. I don't want my audit to be an average audit or an audit where I've missed out many things, or I've not completed certain things. I don't want to do that. Before even starting the audit, I would want to make a checklist of what all things I need to do in that particular audit. I need to make a checklist of what all manpower I need for that particular audit. Do I need a qualified cost accountant, or would a freshly intermediate qualified trainee will be okay for my audit? So yes, you need to plan what kind of personnel do you want, how many people do you want for this particular audit, and should they be qualified cost accountants, because naturally qualified cost accountants would entail a higher cost and trainees will entail a lower cost. So you need to make a choice whether you want the fresher trainees or the intermediate qualified people, or do you want final qualified people. You need to make a choice. It will come with a cost, but then you need to make a choice. If it's a small audit, an easy one, okay, then you can, do away with the trainees as well. But if it's a complicated audit of a very big MNC engaged into manufacturing activities, engaged into multiple products manufactured, then definitely you need qualified cost accountants who are aware about the laws of the country, who are aware about income taxes, GST, costing regimes, who are experienced also in that particular sphere. Experience is also important. So you need that kind of trainees, you need that kind of personnel. So everything, right from when to start the audit. Should we start the audit immediately? Should we start the audit after some time? Or should we wait for the management to respond to us or something like that? Every aspect of audit needs to be planned. So what do you mean by planning? Guys, planning means thinking in advance. Thinking in advance. What is to be done in future? So what is the meaning of word planning? Planning means thinking in advance. What is to be done in future? That is planning. And what is cost audit program? Cost audit program is nothing but planning of cost audit. That is the relevance of planning. That is the relevance of cost audit program. So yes, we are going to start this particular chapter, cost audit program, whereby we are going to plan our cost audit, how our cost audit is going to be carried on, who all will carry on this cost audit, how this cost audit is going to finish, when will this cost audit start, when will this cost audit end, who are going to perform what activities are we going to perform, are we going to perform substantive procedures, are we going to perform control testing, what all do we need to do while doing audit. Everything we are going to deal in this particular chapter. So to say, if I'm not exaggerating by saying that this is the one and only chapter in your syllabus which will practically tell you how to complete an audit. It will practically enlist all the steps that you need to follow to complete an audit. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It is going to list down all the steps which you need to do to complete your audit. So this is by far the first and the only chapter in your syllabus that will practically tell you how to complete an audit. Guys, before this chapter we had done ratio analysis, we had done ratios, we had done all the theoretical bit, how to compute ratios, how to prepare your cost audit format, how to prepare a cost audit report, but none of the chapters have enlisted what are the steps we are going to take for completing an audit. So this is the chapter which is going to practically tell us that yes, if you are going to audit a manufacturing concern whereby you are auditing, say, raw materials or inventory, what steps do you need to take? If you are auditing employee cost, what steps do you need to take? If you are auditing, say, repairs and maintenance cost, what steps do you need to take? So this chapter is all about planning the cost audit. This chapter is all about knowing what is to be done during cost audit, even before the cost audit starts, to just jot down the points which are required to be done in a cost audit. This chapter is going to deal with all that stuff. Okay, sir, we got it. So before we start on, before we come on to the steps, what steps are required to be undertaken while completing an audit, let us first of all look at the three most important elements of planning. The three most important elements of planning are personnel planning. Personnel means human resources. Personnel means people. Personnel means the cost accountants which you require for your audit. Second is documentation. No audit is successful without an effective documentation. If your documentation is not effective, then audit is not done. So the second thing which we need to plan is documentation. And the third thing which we need to plan is quality control, which means how can we ensure that our audit is of high quality? How can we ensure that our audit is completed to the best of the accounting standards, the best of the cost accounting standards, and they also follow the cost auditing standards? How do we ensure that? That is the last step of planning, which is quality control. So these are the three elements which we'll be dealing with in our cost audit programs for each of the account heads. First of all, let's start with personnel. The most important element of any audit is personnel. People. Yes, audit is carried on by people. Audit cannot be carried on by machinery. It is far-fetched idea that we can have a machine, we can have a computer software that can carry out your audit. Audit is a function which is absolutely dependent on human beings' logic, human beings' intelligence, its level of expertise. Audit is entirely dependent on people. So the most important asset, the most important resource in any audit is their people, is the team who's performing the audit. And while choosing the team, you need to take two decisions. Decision number one, quantity of the team. Quantity means number of people. Quantity means number of people required for that particular audit. So quantity means number of people required for that particular audit. Quantity means that. And what do you mean by quality? Quality means qualification plus skills which are required by people whom you want your audit team to be. So you need to take two decisions, okay? How many people do you want for this particular audit? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many people do you need for this particular audit? How many people are sufficient? So naturally, guys, if it's a big audit of a big MNC having a turnover of say 3,000 crores, then of course, audit team would typically comprise of say 10 to 15 people. But if it is a small company having a turnover of 1 crore, 2 crore, maybe 2 people are more than enough. 2 people employed for 2 months, audit will be complete. But for a big company, 3,000 crore company, team of say around 10 people will be required, and 2 months, 3 months time will be required for completing the entire audit. So the two decisions which you need to take with respect to personnel is how many people are required for carrying on these audits. Again, based on your experience, based on your professional judgment, you will think and plan how many people do you require, and it's not casted in stone that you cannot change it subsequently. Say after 1 month you think you need one more person in this audit, you can anytime increase or decrease size of audit team. That's up to you. So number of people who are required for getting the audit done, quantity is important. Second is quality. Quality means what are the qualifications, what are the educational qualifications which are required for that particular audit team. Should all the members of the audit team be qualified cost accountants, or can we have a ratio? Ratio as in 30% people should be professionally qualified cost accountants, 70% can be non-qualified as well. So they can be trainees, they can be inter-passed out students. So that is how you need to see what qualification is required for each of the team member who is becoming part of the audit team. So qualifications are required. Secondly, skills are required. What kind of skill set do you need? So as I've told you, for a small audit or for a nascent company's audit who's into its initial stages of incorporation, for that kind of a company, even not so experienced people can also be good enough to carry on that audit. One senior, one junior can be non-experienced. It's absolutely perfect. Senior should be experienced. But for big clients, for clients which are huge in turnover, over there, even juniors need to have experience. Even juniors need to have skills, because their time is of essence. Time is so less that senior cannot afford to check and train the juniors who are there under him. Senior cannot afford to do that. So Skills are to be decided by the partner, audit partner. He will decide what kind of skills are required. And guys, skills would entail two things. Skills means two things. Number one, prior experience of the industry. Skill would mean two things, okay? Of course, you know about this thing, knowledge. Knowledge is of course required. What kind of knowledge a person has, this is the thing which represent his skills. So first is knowledge. First is his training which he has been given, whether he knows about income tax or not, whether he knows about GST or not, whether he knows about cost accounting record rules or not, whether he knows about cost audit documentation or not, whether he knows about management audit or not, whether he knows about the format of audit report or not. That is of course the first and foremost thing, which is knowledge, which we are going to deal with in a short while. But before that, I want to deal with experience. Experience. Sometimes we require highly experienced people for a particular audit. I'll give you an example. In case of bank audit of big banks, bank audit, their experience is of essence, because they have got complicated transactions, foreign exchange, foreign derivatives, currency derivatives, then credit cards, debit cards. There are so many verticals. There's so much to do in a bank audit that over there the team has to be experienced in carrying out audit of a bank. They should have prior experience of carrying out audit of a bank. So over there, experience is of essence. Experience is of importance. So first skill that every trainer would look at, every audit partner would look at in a person is experience, prior experience of that particular industry. So maybe a person is experienced, but he's not done bank audit, so he's useless for me. I want a person who has done bank audit. I want a person who has done bank audit. So if I need a person who has done bank audit, I need prior experience of the industry. The keyword over here is industry. So if I'm doing audit of a, say, garment manufacturing company, I need an experienced person who has done cost audit of a garments manufacturing company, not any other company. So prior experience is required, but more important, the most important word over here is of the industry. I don't want any prior experience. I don't want experience of, say, jewelry making company. I want experience of garment manufacturing sector itself. Because every industry has its nuances. Every industry has its typical or particular traits. Every industry has its particular features. So I need someone who has done audit of the industry where I am carrying on audit. I want some person from that industry itself. So the first skill that I'll be looking at is prior experience of the industry. And of course, not at all to be undermined, knowledge. I need a person who's knowledgeable, who knows how to carry out what things, who's diligent enough to understand the importance of audit, who's sensitive towards what are the requirements of audit, who has in prior events has identified and actively played a important role in concluding the audit. So I need knowledge. What are the areas where I'm looking for knowledge? Areas might be physical inspection of activities. Okay, so audit is not only about looking at the documents. Audit is also about having your ears and eyes wide open, being vigile on whatever is happening around you, being vigile, being very, very sensitive towards whatever is happening around you. Because when you are doing audit, when you are carrying out your audit, you are at the client's location. So you need to be very, very vigile also. So anyone who's doing physical inspection of activities, and by activities I mean fixed assets inspection, inventory inspection. Inspection can happen for fixed assets, inspection can happen for inventories, inspection can also happen for processes. Okay, so I need a person who is well aware about how to physically inspect certain things, how to physically inspect certain things, how to physically inspect fixed assets, how to physically inspect inventories, and how to physically inspect processes which are carried on by the company. I need someone who is thoroughly aligned, who's thoroughly experienced in inspecting these three things and many other things. Anything which is there in the business, I need someone who can be vigile enough to carry on the physical inspection of things. Now I'll give you a practical example which I faced when I was an article. So I'll give you example of inventories. Okay, sir. So I'll give you an example. I went to a company who used to manufacture certain chemicals. It used to manufacture certain chemicals. The chemicals were stored in big drams. Okay, they were big containers where the chemical was being stored. So there were two xylos. This is known as xylo. Okay, so there were two xylos in that particular premises, and they were located at one corner. One xylo was located at one corner of the yard, and the second xylo was located at another corner of the yard. Okay, these xylos have got certain machinery over here to operate. Okay, and this machinery would tell you how many liters of chemical is filled in this particular xylo. How many liters of chemical is filled in this particular xylo? This will be told to you by the meter which is there. Okay, but to be doubly sure, you would definitely want to climb up the ladder which is adjacent to this xylo. You would want to climb up the ladder which is adjacent to this xylo. You want to take a look inside, open the opening of this particular xylo, and you would definitely like to look inside whether there's water or whether there's chemical or whatever is there inside. You would like to look at that. So there is a opening over here. This is the ladder which will lead you to the opening of the xylo. So I went to this company for physical inspection of inventory. I went at the year end, and the purpose was to see whether the inventory is existing in their location or not, whether inventory which they are saying that we have inventory of so many liters of chemical, whether that inventory is there or not. This was the purpose of our visit to the client, and we went to the client's place. Okay, now when I went to the first xylo, this is xylo number 1. When I went to the first xylo, I took the reading. So whatever X liters of chemical was there inside the xylo, of course I climbed up the ladder and I went to the top of the ladder, and this is me standing at the top of the ladder by risking my life. Yes, my life was at risk because it was at a height of say 40 feet or something like that. So yes, I was standing at the top of the ladder and I was inspecting the xylo whether the liquid is there or not, and I was comfortable that yes, liquid is there inside and it is filled, and this much quantity of liters of liquid is there. Now when I physically inspected this particular xylo, then the company's team wanted me to walk up till the xylo 2 to check xylo 2 as well. So we were walking to xylo 2. While we were walking to xylo 2, I could hear some noise as if some liquid is being transferred from one place to another place. I could hear the noise. I could hear some sound. I asked the team that what is this sound all about? There's some water sound. So team ignored my question. They said that some might be somewhere around, there might be some water source, so that water must be flowing, so that can be the sound. But I got a little suspicious. I thought there's something which is fishy over here. So soon as we reached close to the second xylo, I asked the team that I don't want to inspect this xylo. I want to inspect xylo number 1 back. I want to go back to xylo number 1. I don't want to inspect xylo number 2. I want to go to xylo number 1, and I want to inspect xylo number 1 again. And guys, I quickly went back to xylo number 1, and I realized that this xylo was empty by the time I came in this xylo. And later on we could understand, or we could find out that there's a pipeline connecting this xylo and this xylo. So during the time I was traveling from this xylo to another xylo, the team had transferred this liquid to the next xylo. The team had transferred liquid from one xylo to another xylo. So the quantity of closing stock was 1000 liters in the premises. However, they wanted to prove that the quantity was 2000 liters. They wanted to prove that. That is why they entered into this malicious activity. That is why they entered into this fraudulent activity, which led to qualification in their auditing. So yes, just your knowledge is not enough. If you think that, I need personnel who have knowledge, that's not enough. Only knowledge is not enough. Along with knowledge, I also need experience. Along with knowledge, I also need some relevant vigilance, some level of expertise and prior experience. So this is what physical inspection of activity is all about. While we choose that yes, you should have knowledge of physically inspecting fixed assets, inventory, etc., we should also be aware of this fact that you also need to have some level of due diligence, some level of intelligence while physically inspecting certain activities, because those activities might be fraudulent activities. So yes, the first and foremost knowledge which is required by any audit personnel is physical inspection of activities. You should be aware, you should know how to physically inspect of fixed assets. It is not that you just go to that premises and just see, oh yes, fixed asset is there. That's not enough. You need to see what is the condition in which that fixed asset is stored. Is there any identification mark which proves that this fixed assets belong to this particular company itself? Is there any identification mark with the fixed assets? Is the fixed assets obsolete? Is it under use, or is it obsolete? Is it held for sale? So physical inspection doesn't only mean you need to go over there and check that yes, this thing is there and my work is done. No. Along with seeing that this particular thing is there, you also need to check whether this thing is usable or not, whether this thing is being used or not by the company, whether the company is actually making active use of this particular thing or not. This is what you need to inspect. So yes, knowledge doesn't only mean that you should have bookish knowledge. Knowledge also means that you should have some level of due diligence, some level of intelligence, some level of activeness, vigilance while you are at the client's place. So yes, physical inspection is the first knowledge that I expect from my team members, I expect from my audit team, and I need to know what kind of audit team members do I need? Do I need audit team members who have knowledge of all these things, or do I need audit team members who are less knowledgeable? Will that be fine? I need to take that decision and call. Next, knowledge of cost records. This is a sine non q, which means what? Which means it is mandatory. It is mandatory that while you are carrying on audit of cost records, of course, you should be knowledgeable about cost records. What are cost records? You should be aware about that. What do cost records mean? How are cost records prepared? What kind of cost records are used in what kind of industries, what kind of companies, and what companies are required to maintain cost records, what companies are not required to maintain cost records. And yes, the entire chapter 2 which we have done in our class, that is the basic essential thing, essential knowledge which every cost auditor should have and the entire team member should have. So the second knowledge is that what are cost records, how are they prepared, what are the regulations surrounding the cost records, etc., etc. All these things are required to be known by the audit team. So second requirement is cost records. Third requirement is budgets, plans and strategy. Now let me tell you one very important thing, guys. Every audit entails some cost to the cost auditor. Of course, there's a cost of the personnel, the cost of the people whom we hire. So cost accountant, who's a qualified cost accountant, will not come for free, right? He will take some salary, he will take some emoluments, he will take some some bonuses and some staff welfare expenses, office space which is hired by the cost auditor, etc., etc. There are several costs which are attached to a cost audit. So we need to plan out what kind of budgets are we going to spend in cost audit. We need to plan out the budgets. We need to plan out what kind of budgets are we looking at while we are doing the cost audit. We need to plan out that. What kind of plans and strategies are required to be made, like substantive procedures are required to be carried on, or test checking is more than enough, control testing is enough. What kind of strategy do we need to make? So all these things are expected to be done before the audit is started. And yes, the personnel, the audit team should be aware, should be sensitive about these things. They should be sensitive about budget. They should be sensitive about plans. They should be sensitive about strategy. They should be very, very careful in abiding to all these things. The staff should be superbly trained in abiding to all these things. So I'll tell you a very basic thing, guys, okay? Every audit team member needs to fill in time sheets. Yes, weekly time sheets are required to be filled by every cost audit team member. So after a week, the cost audit team member should tell what are the areas where he worked at. What are the areas which are pending? What are the areas which have been done? So budgets, plans and strategies are required to be first of all made, and they should be communicated to the staff, and staff should be sensitive towards these so that they can be abided to. Okay, sir. And last is cost accounting system. Okay, now guys, there's something called cost records. Records means how are you going to present the costing details and data. Second is cost accounting system. How are you making accounting entries in your books of accounts? How are you making costing sheets, cost sheets, costing data? How are you making that data in your cost records? So cost accounting system represents the accounting bit of cost records. How are you doing your accounting? So as an auditor, as a team member of an audit team, you should have knowledge of what are the popular cost accounting systems which are prevalent in market, and out of them which one are best, which one are worse, what are the pros and cons of both of them, and you should also be aware about how to do them, like standard costing, marginal costing. You've studied all these things in your costing syllabus. You should be aware about that. You should be aware about how cost accounting is done. Cost records is a different thing, okay? Cost records are documents where the final product, the final financial statements, the cost statements are presented. That is cost records, okay? But what goes into background of preparing a cost record, that is cost accounting. How have cost records been made? That is cost accounting. So cost accounting is how to prepare the accounts, and cost record is how to present the cost records, how to present the financial statements and cost statements to the authorities or the board of directors or the concerned people. So that is the difference between cost accounting system and cost records. So I need a person who's aware about cost records as well as cost accounting system. I need a person like that who's aware about both of these things. Okay, sir, got it. Okay, so two words which I'm going to highlight over here, and you are also going to highlight it in your registers, is experience. I need person who's experienced in that particular industry. Industry is very, very important. I need a person who's experienced in that industry. Secondly, he should have knowledge. He should be aware about the laws, the legal requirements, the ethical requirements, the requirements which are required to be fulfilled as per the rules. He should be aware about all these things. And this is not a comprehensive list. This knowledge goes beyond this list also. But these four things are the basic for conducting a cost audit. The basic things which a cost auditor should know. These four things tell you about that. Okay, sir, got it. Next element, and very, very, very important element, guys, documentation. There's a very old saying: if you have not documented well, then you have not done audit at all. I will assume that. If there's no documentation, then you have not done audit at all. I will assume that. So documentation is heart and soul of audit. Heart and soul of audit. If you have done audit, superbly done audit, okay, and done every step which is required to do audit, and you have also culled out certain qualifications, you have found out certain flaws in audit, you've done everything superbly, but you fail to document it. You fail to write the steps which you have taken to complete the audit. I'll assume that you have not done the audit. You have not done the audit at all. That is the popular saying which goes, if you have not documented it well, you've not done it. So in audit, this is a old saying: if you have not documented it well, you have not done it. I will assume that you have not done it. So documentation is that important in every audit. You need to document whatever you've done. You need to document on a daily basis, on a per step basis, on a per financial statement, a level head basis, you have to document whatever you have done. You have to write down the steps which you have done to complete physical verification of inventory. You have to write down the steps which you have done to complete the sales audit or purchases audit or fixed asset audit. You have to write down each and every step. And you document, suppose you have picked up 20 samples, you have to write down that yes, these 20 samples have been picked up, and out of these 20 samples, these were positive, these were negative. That is all you need to document. So we also refer documentation as our working papers. Another name used for documentation is working papers. So documentation also means working papers. Working papers are documents which an audit team makes on a daily basis, which it reviews and it writes its comments on. It writes what steps have been taken for conducting audit of that particular document. They are accumulatively known as working papers. All these working papers are mandatorily to be kept in the audit file, and they are to be preserved for a period of time for a requirement, for the statutory requirement, fulfilling the statutory requirements. You need to preserve them. But what are these? So first of all, documentation, working papers, first of all, they'll include daily worksheets. So what kind of worksheets? What are worksheets? Worksheet means what are the questions which audit team has asked to the management and what replies have they got from the management side. That is known as daily audit worksheet. Worksheet means that, for example, if I started auditing employee cost, then the audit team would have asked how many number of employees are there, and management would have responded that we have 356 employees during the beginning of the year, we have 485 employees during the end of the year. So all these numbers are to be written down somewhere. What that thing should be, it should be written down in daily worksheets. So the first thing which we need to prepare as an audit team are daily worksheets, where we are going to document what are the questions which we have asked from the audit team, from the client, and what are the responses which client has given to us. These are the daily worksheets. So everything, right from what have you done during the day, what steps have you taken to audit, say, employee cost or sales or say capital employed, all those things are to be written in these daily worksheets. They are to be put them in a file so that, say after 2 years or 3 years, if you are wondering what steps have you taken to audit this particular head, you are able to clearly understand that yes, okay, I first checked with management about this, second this, third this, fourth this. So you can easily able to recall whatever you've done in the audit of this particular head. So first is daily worksheets. Second are checklist, letters. Letters can have one more thing, which is confirmations, third party confirmations. Third party confirmations. Third party confirmation. I'll tell you what are these documents. Okay, so checklist. What are checklists? Checklist means that while you are auditing a particular head, you need to know what steps do you need to follow. And in this entire chapter, after this particular screen, I'll be coming on to checklist of each and every account head. Each and every important account head, like fixed assets, like sales, like employee cost, like repair maintenance cost, like selling and distribution overheads. Every account head, I will be preparing a checklist for you. What is a checklist? Checklist means a list of activities which we need to perform to complete audit of a particular section. Just like when you go to a neighboring state or a state for a vacation, or you go to another country, then you prepare a checklist that okay, if we visit say Delhi, we need to see the Red Fort, we need to see Connaught Place, we need to see Humayun's tomb, we need to see the Qutub Minar, we need to go to Connaught Place to a best restaurant, we need to go to Hoskas village to spend an evening amidst the cafes. So we need to list down all those things which we need to cover in that particular city so that we do not miss out on anything. Similarly, we prepare a checklist of the steps which we need to take in auditing a particular account head, and that checklist serves as a reminder to us that yes, we need to do this. So those checklists are to be put in the audit file. so that we are sure that yes, we have completed the 5 steps which are required to be done while auditing fixed assets. So this checklist forms an important part of the working papers. Second are letters. So guys, there are certain letters which are exchanged during the course of audit. For example, the auditor would ask management to give representation on certain things or to give confirmation on certain things. Those representations, those confirmations are to be put into the audit file so that tomorrow we might refer to them. Then there's one very important letter which is third party confirmations. So management is saying that my bank account shows a balance of 2 crore rupees. I need a written confirmation from the bank that yes, the account of this particular client has 2 crore rupees in it. That is known as third party confirmation. Now suppose management is telling me that I have a debtor, Mr. A, and that debtor owes me 1 crore rupees. I need a confirmation from Mr. A where Mr. A should write on a letter that yes, I need to pay 1 crore rupees to the company. I need a confirmation. These are known as third party confirmations, and they also form an essential element of documentation, because a third party confirming a balance, a third party confirming a activity or an event holds a very important audit evidence from an auditor's standpoint. A third party confirmation is always a valuable confirmation. So you must have seen that if there's some murder happened in your neighborhood or your society or something like that, then police will go on to each and every neighbor house, and he will inquire that did you see anything, because third party evidence holds a very important value. It holds a very valuable input. If a third party is giving some evidence, or if third party is giving some his whatever he has seen the last night, that is a very, very important evidence in under law's eyes. So a third party confirmation will hold an important value, so that should be retained as documentation in your audit file. So any checklist, any letters, etc. are forming an essential part of documentation, and documentation includes any checklist, letters, third party confirmations, etc. Then last are the schedules, the statements, etc. which are provided by the client. So, you will ask the client, okay, dear Mr. Client, profit and loss account shows expenditure of repair and maintenance amounting to 50 lakh rupees. Please give me the details. So the client in an Excel format will give you all the details that yes, this 50 lakh rupees has been spent on this repair and maintenance. This cost was given to Mr. A for repairing, Mr. B for providing me maintenance, etc., etc. This is the amount. This is when I have made the payment to them. All these details the client will be giving to you. Those details are known as schedules or statements. So the schedules or statements, the details which client will share with you on account of the financial statements which you are auditing. So whatever details the client is going to share you, they will share you in schedules and statements form, and those are to be saved. They are to be kept in the audit file carefully, because that will serve as an evidence that yes, management had given you these details. Of course, you need to carry on your audit procedure in that details. If management is saying I incurred an expenditure of 50 lakh rupees for repair and maintenance, you will not trust them. Of course, you will be carrying on your due diligence. You will be carrying on your level of checking on that particular aspect. But you need to keep those schedules and statements which are provided by the management in your audit file, so that tomorrow you are able to show to the management that look, management, you had provided me this schedule, but I had found out that in this schedule these things were not correct, these things were incorrect. You need to point out that. So schedules, statements, etc. form an integral part of your documentation. Now an important aspect, guys, documents related to audit must be preserved by the auditor to meet statutory and professional requirements. So there are two kinds of requirements which you need to fulfill with respect to preserving the documentation. One, statutory requirement. Second, professional requirement. Now what do you mean by statutory requirement? Guys, statutory requirement means the requirement of Companies Act or Income Tax Act or GST Act or any other act which is prevalent at that point in time and which is applicable to the company. This is the statutory requirement. So there are two kind of requirements which the company needs to fulfill. Documents are to be preserved. Preserved means document has to be stored for say 8 years. They should be stored. So the authorities can ask you for documents for past 8 years. But the authorities cannot ask you for documents for 18 years. Give me documents of a financial year which was before 17 years, 18 years, 20 years. No, they cannot ask you that. Because statutorily, you are only required to preserve the documents of last 8 years as per the Companies Act. Last 8 years documents, last 8 years books of accounts, financials, and all this documentation needs to be preserved. So the first requirement is with respect to Companies Act. Companies Act would require you to preserve your documentation for a particular tenure, for a limited time period. Then the second requirement is professional requirement, which means professional ethics will require you to preserve your documentation for certain point in time. And yes, we had studied professional ethics in our chapter number 3, professional ethics. So over there we had studied what are the requirements of Institute of Cost Accountants of India with respect to audit. Those requirements also contain requirement for preserving the documentation. So you need to preserve your documentation on two fronts. First is the statutory front. Second is the professional front. Professional front means the professional ethics which are given by ICMAI. Professional ethics which are given by ICMAI. Statutory requirement means the requirements which are imposed by any law of the land, like Income Tax Act, like Companies Act, or GST, or whatever it is. The law also require you to preserve your documentation for certain point in time. So the requirement is from the company's side to preserve the books of accounts, and from the auditor's side to preserve the documentation of audit. There are two requirements. From the company's side to preserve the books of accounts and the relevant vouchers, supporting documents, etc., etc. And from the auditor's side to preserve the documents which the auditor has seen during the audit, according to which he has completed the audit, to preserve those. So over here, currently we are talking about the documentation which are related to auditor. The documentation which are related to auditor. Whatever documentation auditor has made, we are talking about that particular documentation over here. So yes, documents relating to audit must be preserved by the auditor to meet the statutory and professional requirements. Both the requirements should be met, professional requirements as well as statutory requirements. Now whatever is the command of Companies Act, we need to follow that. Whatever is the command of Income Tax Act or any other law in force according to which we are carrying on the audit, we need to first of all fulfill that. And secondly, we need to fulfill the professional requirements, the requirements of Institute of Cost Accountants of India with respect to preserving the audit documentation. Okay, sir. So that's all about documentation. So this is the second aspect of our audit planning, which is very, very important, because I've told you, no documentation, no audit. Even if you've carried on audit with your full energy, with your full vigor, with your full enthusiasm, but you have not maintained the documentation, I will presume that you have not carried on audit. No documentation, no audit. That is the golden rule of audit. Okay, sir. And last, but of course not at all the least, quality control. Now we need to see the quality of our audit. We need to control the quality of our audit, and we need to ensure that our audit is done to the best of the legal and professional requirements. The first element of ensuring good quality is the quality of cost records. What is the quality of cost records? Whether the cost records comply with the statutory requirements. So what do you mean by quality of cost records? Does that mean that we need to have a very fancy software and we need to have a very up level of computer software which will prepare our cost records? No, guys, I'm not talking about the infrastructure in which cost records are prepared. I'm talking about the requirements according to which the audit is done, the records are prepared. The requirements according to which cost records are prepared. I'm talking about the requirements, the statutory requirements, the Companies Act requirements, the rules requirement, chapter number 2, which we have done, the rules. What do rules tell you about cost records? How are the cost records to be maintained? All those things are covered under quality control of cost records. So if you want your cost record to be absolutely perfect, flawless, and upscale, then you need to have a good control over the requirements which are imposed on the cost records. So cost records should be maintained in a very, very good manner by the company, of course. Cost record maintenance is not work of the auditor. Auditor's work is just to audit the cost records. Cost records are to be maintained by the company. Yes, sir. Second is cost accounting statement. Cost accounting system should be absolutely perfect. Cost accounting system should be good of the company, and of course it involves what kind of ERP system is being used, what kind of accounting system is being used. All those things are included in cost accounting system. So your cost accounting system should be up to the mark. The company should have personnels who understand the nitty-gritties of cost accounting system, cost accounting, etc. All these things should be up market and should be really good. So cost accounting system is the second important aspect to look at while you're looking at the quality control. So quality control, first aspect is cost records. The regulations surrounding the cost records need to be you need to be well versed with these regulations. Second aspect is cost accounting system. And the third aspect is, and a very, very important aspect, guys, professional judgment. What do you mean by professional judgment? Okay, I'll write another word for professional judgment. Due diligence. Due diligence. What do you mean by due diligence? What do you mean by due diligence? Due diligence means to take care. Due diligence means to take care. You need to take care of certain things, that is known as due diligence. Due diligence means to take care. Now, while performing an audit, you shouldn't perform the audit mechanically. Just like I gave you an example of the chemical field which I went to. If I would have been mechanical in doing this particular audit, if I would have been mechanical and I would not have, applied my brain that yes, some water is flowing from one place to another place and I can feel that water is flowing. What is that water? I should be aware that what is that water is. If I wouldn't have been taken care of, if I would have done the things mechanically, okay, I have checked the meter of xylo number 1 and I will go and check the meter of xylo number 2 and my work is done. If I do it mechanically, if I do not apply my brain, if I don't be sensitive, if I won't be sensitive towards the small things which are required to be done, then I would not be diligent enough. I would not be exercising my professional judgment. So guys, during an audit, professional judgment is the foremost thing that you need to exercise to control quality of an audit. Quality will be enhanced only and only when you exercise professional judgment on what is to be done at what point in time. So I made a decision. Even after reaching xylo number 2, I went back to xylo number 1. That is the decision which I made because of my professional judgment. Because of my due diligence, I made that decision. And that decision reaped an amazing benefit that I could find out this fraud that the chemical was being transferred from one xylo to another xylo and the auditors were being befooled. The books of accounts were being fudged. So this is what is professional judgment. So where does this professional judgment come from? Do we have a textbook? Do we have a chapter in our syllabus, or do we have some theory, some literature where we can study, read all these aspects like you told us about this particular aspect? Is there a book where all these aspects are written and we can see all those aspects, all the ways by which the client can try to befool us and we'll become smart auditors? Is there a way? Is there a book? Is there a video which we can see? Is there a content? Is there any video which is made for this aspect, for enhancing our professional judgment? Answer is no. Answer is no. Professional judgment is only and only a residuary factor of your experience. Professional judgment only comes with experience. Professional judgment only comes with experience. Experience will give you professional judgment. So professional judgment cannot be acquired through books of accounts, through books, through literature, through rules. Cost records you can understand through rules. Cost accounting system you can understand through your SCM textbook. But professional judgment you cannot understand from any book. You cannot understand from any textbook. You cannot understand from any literature which is there in market. No, cannot be understood that ways. For understanding professional judgment, you need to have experience. Or you need to work with people who have got experience. They can only teach you professional judgment. And using professional judgment, you can improve the quality of your audit. So if you want to improve the quality of your audit, it is a direct function of your experience and your knowledge. So this will this you'll enhance through your knowledge. Cost records and cost accounting system, this you'll enhance through your knowledge, and this you'll enhance through your experience. So quality control is a direct factor of your knowledge, these two things, and your experience. It is a direct factor of these three things. That is the quality control. So yes, if we take care of these three things in our cost audit program while planning our audit, what we need to do while we are planning the audit, if we take care of these three important elements, then guys, by far our audit will be successful. By far our audit will be of high quality. By far our audit will be of a substantial value to the authorities, to the shareholders, to the stakeholders, to the creditors, debtors, everyone. Our auditor will put value on table. Our audit will put value on table only when we ensure that we take care of all these three things. We should have best people for the best audit. First of all, choosing the best people for best audit. We should have best people for best audit. We should have documentation which is absolutely aligned to our audit objective. We should have strong documentation of each and everything. We should have robust documentation of each and everything. And third is our quality of audit should be very, very, very high. We should provide high standards of quality of assurance, quality of audits. We should have audits which are good in their technical skills. We should have audit which are good in their analysis part. Everything should be absolutely perfect. And if we can ensure that these three things are absolutely great and these three things are absolutely superb, then we can ensure that yes, we have a good audit. So yes, three things which we need to ensure correct, and we'll have a great audit. So yes, this was a brief about this particular chapter, which is cost audit program, and in the next session we are going to start cost audit checklist or cost audit methods or steps of undertaking cost audit of different functions like sales, functions like expenses, function like inventory, raw material, finished goods. So we'll be dealing with each and every function, and we'll be seeing what kind of audit program or audit planning needs to be done for auditing each and every function of profit and loss account as well as the balance sheet.